Start, please.
Hello everyone, I'm Shubhada. I am 2016 Chemical Engineering DBATU graduate. I hope I'm all audible enough. And firstly, we'll be posting a link for our feedback form in the chat box. So all the attendees, please post your comments or like questions there. And in the feedback form, please post your comments. And for the question, please post them in the chat box. Before I introduce our today's speaker, I request Mr. Sachin Oak, a retired Lieutenant Colonel and also Mechanical 1996 DBATU alumnus, to welcome everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Sachin Oak is one of the students from the first batch. He was selected for Army in pre-final year in the UES entry 1995 and joined Indian Military Academy at Dehradun immediately after completing his graduation. During his tenure with the Army, he served in Operation Vijay, Kargil War, as we all know, in the Batalik sector of Jammu and Kashmir. He has also done post-graduation in management while serving in the Army. So now I request him to welcome all the attendees and speaker on behalf of everyone.
Yeah, Shubhada, thank you very much. I hope everybody can listen to me. Yeah, great.
Yep.
Yeah, nice to see you all. And it's great to actually, meet virtually maybe. But then it's great to meet you all after so many years, maybe 22 years down the line. Those guys whom I know, Rajiv, Karthik, and I'm not able to browse everyone. There's too short of a time. I don't want to waste the time of the webinar. And I suppose Karthik would be gearing up for a lot of things that we may be interested in. So let me welcome you all on behalf of the DBATU Alumni Association. Now, this association is alive, kicking, and about to run, or rather, I would say gallop. And we are actually extremely happy that this association has started doing something which should have been started many years back. We're lucky to have some of us who have taken interest in this, and we are trying to garner as much support as we can. And I'm going to appeal today to all of you to actually support this association and let us all get together to bring the name of Batu up in the maybe first 10 universities in India at least. And I'm dead sure with all of us together and the support of all of you, we definitely will be able to achieve it. Now, this webinar is a part of the series that has been started, and it is the first one in this series. And I'm really very happy that Karthik has taken on this onus of responsibility to host this seminar and a webinar rather. And I'm sure we'll be, leaving this webinar with a positive note and a lot of knowledge from Karthik. Yeah, thank you everyone for attending this webinar, and I'm sure that everyone would be gearing up to actually support this association to the fullest. And we need not just the support from you all guys, but we also need active participation in all the activities that is being planned in maybe a role that you are able to or are willing to take on, or maybe without a role but supporting it wholeheartedly. Thank you very much. Over to Shubhada. Shubhada, you are not audible.
Shubhada, please unmute yourself.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Oak. So our today's speaker is Mr. Karthik Chandrasekharan. He also happens to be a chemical graduate of year 1997. Post his undergrad, he pursued his master's in chemical engineering from University of Akron. Since then, he has worked in various departments such as operations, quality, supply chain, and manufacturing. He has applied his knowledge for various industries, including epoxy, coatings, plastics, and entertainment industry. Presently, Karthik is the Vice President of Supply Chain and Product Development at NetBus Inc., DBA United Naturals. He has over 10 years of experience in the nutraceutical and cosmetic industry, with majority of it in e-commerce. His experience includes major players in the market, including Beachbody and Golden Hippo Media. He currently oversees both the research and development and supply chain at NetBust and is responsible for developing new products and ensuring delivery of product to customers. And today, he's going to share his experience and knowledge about product development. So without further delay, I request Karthik to take over the screen.
Thank you so much, Shubhada and Sachin. Thanks for the great introduction. Today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about what goes into developing and marketing a successful product. I'm going to be talking more from the perspective of a CPG industry, but I believe that whatever I say today will probably be applicable to most industries with a few modifications here and there. So with that, the agenda. So these are the topics I'm going to cover today. Primarily, I'm going to talk about what steps are involved in the development of a product, and then sub-items there, and then continuing on to the steps involved in the marketing of a product. One key thing to note here is that the true success in developing a product and marketing a successful product requires that all aspects of the organization and all key players in the organization should be involved in the process right from the beginning. So with that, customer service, quality, operations, supply chain, marketing, product development, creative, everybody needs to be involved in the process right from the beginning. If that doesn't happen, then there's bound to be some failures in the product. This is something that I've gained from experience more than anything else. With that, I'm going to move on to the next slide. So the very first thing that we talk about is the concept, market analysis, market survey analysis, and the needs. So in that, a complete market analysis report is something that we need before we get into developing a product. What do you mean by a complete market analysis report? It means looking at, competitors, looking at what is out there in the market, what are the trends that are going on in the market, who potentially would be your customer base, what would be your demographics, target demographics. So these are all the things that form part of this complete market analysis report. This data is also used to identify trends and also biggest competitors. Typically, most companies try to do the market analysis themselves. If they have the resources to do it themselves, they can. But there are also a lot of third-party companies that this can be outsourced to. The next thing we need to do after market analysis is identify the category target. What does identifying category target mean? It determines what category of product you want to launch. So there are different categories out there. Even within the nutraceutical space, even within the cosmetic space, there are multiple categories of products out there. For example, you want to launch a skincare brand under cosmetics. Well, skincare itself can be categorized into multiple categories. For example, do you want a cream? Do you want a lotion? So, from that perspective, identifying the category target is a very crucial part of determining what product you want to launch and where do you want to take it. The next step after that is to determine the target Cogs. What goes into determining the target Cogs? Well, let me explain what Cogs are. Cogs are cost of goods sold, which means the total cost of a product that is used or that is needed. That's what will come out to be, which includes the cost of the ingredients that go into the product, cost of making the product, cost of the packaging involved, cost of transportation of that product to the warehouse, and cost of shipping that product out to the customer. That's what COGS stands for. So the main things that drive target COGS are your margins, your marketing spend, and last but not the least, what is the competitor pricing? So that is going to drive in a big way what your target COGS are. We also want to, the next thing you want to do is you want to review and order and review competitors' products. What does that mean? Go into the market. If you're working with a product that is very, very expensive, then what you would do is look at the competitors' products online, see what they're selling, see how much they're selling for, look at what components are going into their product, what ingredients are going into their product. So these are all key factors that also need to be done when you're working with competitors' products. The next is to review the market analysis report and finalize a product strategy. How is this done? Ideally, and this happens whether you're in a small company or in a big company. You take your market analysis report and you have a roundtable with all the key stakeholders in the company and review this market analysis report in detail. You break it down. You say, okay, what is there in this report? What does this report tell us? Does this tell us where this product can be sold, how this can be sold, and also determine the final product strategy. What is final product strategy? Saying, okay, what are the marketing channels we're going to use to sell this product in? Where is this going to be sold? How is this going to be sold? How this needs to be packaged to make it attractive to the competitor, to the customers. So these are all the things that go into identifying or reviewing the market analysis report and finalizing your product strategy. Next step is target launch date. So this is also a huge determining factor because there might be products that are seasonal. So with that in mind, you want to make sure that your target launch dates are set in a way that you're able to direct this to launch in a time where it makes sense to get the maximum profit out of it. Formulation ideation. That is the next step we're going to talk about. In that, collecting information for key ingredients, research/branded ingredients. So this is primarily in the nutraceutical cosmetic space that happens. I know it happens in other industries, but in different forms. So what happens here is that you're going to look at your entire market and see what ingredients are out there that can help you develop a good product, a new product, which is also cost effective. So what are you going to look at these ingredients from? You're going to look at what clinical research is out there with these ingredients. What branded ingredients are available with claims, substantiations that you can make. For example, there might be ingredients out there that say, for example, if you're working for immune product, there might be ingredients out there that have been clinically tested to say that, okay, it boosts immunity of a person by 20% or 30%. And if they have clinical studies to back something like that, that can become one of your key ingredients because now it gives you a marketing story to tell. And that is something that is very, very critical for people who are trying to market the product. The next step after that is to develop 2 to 3 initial formulation ideas. Now, how does that work? Well, what you want to do is you want to take all these ingredients, put them together in a formula and see how it works. Who can help you with something like this? If ideally people, in huge corporations, people have labs in-house where you have scientists who are going to take these ingredients, put them together, mix them together and see if these ingredients work together in combination. In cases where that cannot be done, you can outsource that to companies like contract manufacturers. These contract manufacturers are people that you have relationships with, that you've built trust with, where you tell them, okay, look, I'm going to send you these 3 formulas. I need you to make samples for me and send them to me so that I can take a look at them and see how it works. They also will do additional research to make sure that it's a compatible formula and it can actually be made. Based on that, they will also provide quotes on the initial formulation ideas to give you what the cost of the actual product with the packaging is going to be. Now, the next step is to receive these formula samples, request and receive these formula samples so you can do some initial testing with them. So the first thing you do is internal team sampling. So you take these samples that you get, you send them to people in your team who want to try them, test them out, and see how they like it, what effects they're seeing with it. In cases, if the internal data is not accurate or if the internal data is too spread out or too distributed, then you can potentially do an external study group if needed as well. So what is an external study group? This is something that you can outsource to a third-party company, or you can do it yourself in-house if you have the resources to do it. What you ideally do is you reach out to people that you did the market survey with and collect a small group of these people, put them together and tell them, hey, do you want to do a study group where we'll supply you the product, we'll pay you for your time but we want you to give feedback to us as to what effect you see with this product. So this is a key component that is ideally done in the cosmetic space as well as in the nutraceutical space. Now, if you go into the drug aspect of it, this is something that is required to be done because they're going to be validating the drug to make sure that it works and everything else. So based on all of these factors, you select your final formula. It is an iterative process, but because you might be going through multiple revisions of this formula before you finalize and say, okay, this is going to be the final formula based on all the information that I receive. Then you go into submitting this product substantiation to legal for claims approval. Well, what is a product substantiation? Based on all the ingredients that you selected, based on the research, based on the clinical studies that you found out associated with these key ingredients, what you would do is you would say, okay, these are the claims I can make against this product. For example, the immunity claim that I talked about, that it boosts your immunity by 20%. There might be, for a skincare product, there might be a claim saying that, hey, it reduces wrinkles, it reduces skin sagging. Those are all claims that you can make. A lot of these claims are, governed or are stipulated in terms of the regulation by the FDA in the US. And I'm sure that, in other countries also, there are regulations against what claims you can make. So with that in mind, you want to make sure that there is a legal/regulatory review of your claims. And then the last step here is to submit the product substantiation to marketing so that they can start working on these claims, start working on developing a marketing story behind these claims. With that, we'll move on to the next slide. The production, creation, manufacturing aspect. So this is this next step after your initiation phase. So with that, the selection of the contract manufacturer. This is also a key step because what this determines is who is going to be the person who's going to make your product. In a lot of cases, what companies will do is that they will select 2 different contract manufacturers to make them because they don't want to put all their eggs in one basket. So they have a primary and a secondary vendor for a product like this. Finalizing packaging components. So this is primarily going to be driven more so by the marketing than anything else, where marketing says, hey, I like the product to be packaged in this format so that it can sell. Where does all this information come from? Well, most of this information comes from review of competitors' product and the market survey that you did. So one other key thing that goes into the product creation is also finalizing a product name. The name of a product can go a long way in determining how the product is marketed. So making sure that you pick the right name and to trademark that name, because the trademarking process is another aspect of it. So filing the trademark and getting the trademark in the US at least can take up to 6 months. So with that in mind, you would want to find the trademark as soon as you're able to finalize a product name and make sure that there are no existing trademarks against that name, especially in the space that you're looking for. Packaging, copy, and design finalized and design initiated. So marketing, along with working with creative writing team, is also involved in finalizing the packaging copy. What goes into the packaging copy? The claims that we talked about and how you want to project your product out to show that, hey, this is how it's going to look. This is going to look good on the web. This is going to look good in social media. And based on that, they direct both the packaging copy as well as the design to make sure that it's going to look good. Finalize MSRP. So this is a key step where you have involvement from finance, you have involvement from operations, you have involvement from most of the key stakeholders, including marketing, to make sure that, hey, this is the price we can sell the product at. This is also defined in a lot of way by your consumer research that you did initially and also competitor research. Finalize supplier details. So testing, TMLA. What is TMLA? TMLA is trademark license ingredients, license agreement. So especially when you have branded ingredients, these branded ingredients are trademarked by these companies. So they need to issue a license to you to use their trademark in your product. If you're using the product, they want you to put their trademark on your product so that they can claim that, hey, my product is used in multiple areas. It also gives you credibility from the perspective that this is a trademarked ingredient, here's the trademark, we have the license to use the trademark, so we can potentially claim the benefits that are associated with this particular ingredient. The COA, which is a certificate of analysis, is something that the contract manufacturer supplier provides, which tells you that the product is safe, it's being tested, and it looks good from the perspective to make sure that there is no, that it's good from an Eastern mode perspective, that it is good from microbial perspective, and it has all the ingredients that are supposed to be in it at the right values to provide label claims associated with the product. And then the last step in the production, creation, manufacturing aspect is to submit the purchase order with this contract manufacturer so that they can start the manufacturing process. We continue to work on this production manufacturing aspects. That was the last step that from the perspective of the contract manufacturer in terms of the manufacturing aspect. But what continues behind the stage is that they provide us with the final supplement facts. What are supplement facts? That tell you what key components or key macronutrients are in the product. What are macronutrients? For example, you know how much vitamin A is in the product, how much vitamin B is in the product, how much calories are in the product. So those are all considered as macro/micronutrients. So you need to make sure that you have a label claim associated with that. Who determines that? Well, the contract manufacturer who's actually making the formula determines it and sends you a final supplement facts label that breaks every aspect of it down. So with that in mind, we'll move on to the next step, where you take the supplement facts and use it in the design of the final artwork. So you've already started the design process in the previous slide. You continue with the design process and add the final supplement facts. Once that is done, you send it to the supplier so you can add it to the packaging. Another big aspect of this process is to design and order press/launch kits. What are press/launch kits? Well, marketing needs this for all products, essentially. This is something where they put everything together associated with that product into a nice package and send it out to the press. They send it out to social media influencers. They send it out to key people that they want to market the product with. So this is something that goes a long way in ensuring a successful product. So another product step that happens here is creating an internal product specification sheet. This is primarily done by the product development group, where they take all the information associated with that product. The specification sheet includes what is tested on the product, what the claims are on the product, what ingredients are going into the product. The specification sheet also includes a material safety data sheet in case, to make sure that people are not overdosing on it. And in case something happens, then what are the steps that they need to take to help them, essentially, more than anything else. One more step that happens here is to submit this to insurance. What does submitting to insurance means? For any product that is launched out there, you need to take insurance, especially in the cosmetics and the nutraceutical space. So because product insurance is something that is a key thing, especially in the event of a recall or anything similar to that, you want to make sure that you're covered. So the last process that's associated with developing a product is the launch and support process. What happens? Well, you need to make sure that your website design is up and you have updated your website with all of the information that is provided by marketing, product development, customer service. A lot of things go into designing the website. It also goes into talking about what is your money back guarantee, what are the returns process, what is the returns procedure that you're going to have, what is the customer service you're going to have, what are the email addresses that you're going to have, what is the shipping address that is going to come from, where do they need to send their return product back. It also has updates on claims. It also has updates on shipping information in terms of if there are delays in shipping, then you want to broadcast it through your website and everything else. The next step is the arrival of the product at the distribution center. Along with the product, the press kits will also be arriving at the distributor. Once it comes to the distributor, the press kits will get sent out first, but at the same time, at the distribution center, what you're going to be doing is taking the product and checking it to make sure that it meets all your requirements from a perspective of quality, to make sure that the labels are applied correctly, make sure that there's a lot number and an expiration date. Primarily with nutraceuticals as well as cosmetics, the lot number and the expiration date go a long way in determining, in the event of a recall, in the event of issues with the product, it's a key factor. Press release gets approved by marketing. Once that gets released by marketing, then the press kits are sent out to the key people, and then the last step that happens is the official launch along with the press release. Post-launch activities. So one thing that happens in post-launch activities is that product development / marketing determine that they want to conduct further consumer trials. So what they can do in the process is take existing product and create a consumer trial where they're sending this product out to 50 people or 100 people and pay them again for their time and give them free product and see how they feel. A lot of this is done in-house. In some cases, this can be outsourced as well. What this does is that it provides data for additional claims and for continuing or making your existing claims more robust. Where does marketing start? So now we're going to switch over to the marketing aspect. You would have noticed that throughout the presentation, even the product development phase, I was talking about marketing being involved right from the beginning. Well, this is where marketing starts. It starts right at the product conceptualization. So right from conceptualization, marketing has to be involved to make sure that how the product is made, what goes into the product. If marketing is not involved in that process, then you're going to have major product failures. So some of the key steps where marketing is involved is market research, ideation, formulation step, identifying the target demographics, packaging design, marketing copy, PR, and press campaign. Why is involvement of marketing critical in these aspects? Because they bring to the table a lot of aspects that might not be something that other areas of the organization might be aware with this. So that is why taking the marketing's input into this is very, very critical. Omni-channel marketing. In today's day and age where we live, right? If you talk 20 years ago, what was your key way to market a product? Well, you would market it using advertisements on paper, on television, which is called direct marketing, or traditional marketing. But in today's day and age, the biggest marketing channel that has come out is social media marketing. What is social media marketing? Well, your Facebook, your Instagram, your YouTube, your Google, all of these things have channels where you can monetize your marketing. You can actually pay them to acquire customers. This is called paid media marketing also. You pay a decent amount of money, in some cases up to $100 per customer to acquire these customers. What you're gaining from this aspect of it is that you're gaining a customer where, your lifetime value for that customer might be $300 or $400. That is one of the reasons why you're okay with spending that $100 upfront to acquire the customer. And that is the only way that you're going to you can make sure that you're successful in this launch or using this platform. What does that mean? Well, your product might cost $30, $40, $50. So if the customer buys a product the first time through social media, you're going to be paying $100 to acquire that customer, but the customer is buying only a $30 worth of product. What do you want him to do? Well, you want him to get onto a platform where he's going to continue to buy that product from you till he gets to at least $300 on an average. So there might be some customers who you might get for a year. Some customers might get for 6 months. Some customers you might get for 2 years or 3 years. So based on all that, you average it out and you can figure out what your lifetime value for that customer is. Another big aspect of social media marketing is also influencer marketing, where you send this product to influencers on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, and what they do is that they promote your product for a small fee. So when they do that, you potentially can get a large number of customers out of that process. One of the big aspects of this lifetime value is also subscription marketing. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you can get these people on a subscription where they continue to buy the product from you on a monthly or a bi-monthly or a tri-monthly process. So once in 2 months, once in 3 months, or a monthly basis, they're continuing to buy your product. This increases your lifetime value considerably. So this is something different. This is not something that a lot of folks do, but it's getting more and more popularity in the recent times. The last thing that I'm going to be talking about is email. Well, last two things. One is email marketing, and the last one is retail marketing. Email marketing is a strategy where you want to retarget your customers that you've acquired. You reach out to them by email saying, hey, I'm going to offer you a special discount on this. Will you be willing to buy if you get a special discount? So those are all things that the email marketing team works on. There is a drip campaign where they can set up where they talk about the benefits of the product. A lot of times what they'll do is they will hype up things to a point where you have a bunch of emails coming every 2 days or every 3 days. The first one talks about, do you feel good? Are you feeling good? The second one talks about, we can help you. And final email will come with what discount they're going to get on a specific product. So this is your typical email marketing strategy. The last but not the least, I'm going to talk about retail marketing. What is retail marketing? Well, retail marketing is where you want to sell your products outside your current marketing channels. What does that mean? It means going to somebody like Amazon and selling your product on Amazon. But it also means that you could potentially go to brick and mortar to sell your products. What is brick and mortar? Brick and mortar means your stores, similar to your Big Bazaar, or in the case of US, you're talking about going to a Whole Foods or Sprouts or Safeway or a Kroger. So these are all markets that you can target in retail marketing. Now, retail marketing is going to be slightly different from going to your existing marketing base because the price points are completely different in retail marketing. The margins are different because you're going to share some of the margins with your retailer that you're going to be putting this product on. Last but not the least is to talk about customer service. So customer service forms a key aspect of your product because without customer service, your product would not go anywhere. One of the first things that need to happen with customer service is the on-time delivery aspect of it. Even though it's driven by supply chain, it becomes an aspect, huge aspect for customer service. The next one is the product experience itself, where a customer takes a product and he opens the box so he sees how the product has come to him. This experience is very key because this is going to drive whether the customer is interested in buying again, how does he feel about getting the product, and everything else. So what this also goes to is to determine how the product is packaged. It also goes to determine how the product is shipped out in the package to make sure that the customer gets it without damage and everything else. Post-sale customer service is another huge aspect of the customer service aspect itself. What it means is that people like getting welcome calls where you ship the product to them, the product gets delivered to them. Within a couple of days, you're calling them. You have a customer service, dedicated customer service that is calling them personally to say, hey, we know you received your product. Did you try it out? How do you feel about it? Those are all things. And a lot of people want to talk about those things. So when they do that, you want to be able to give them an outlet to talk about it. And the post-sale customer service becomes a key aspect of that. So welcome calls I talked about. Email drip campaign, which I sort of talked about it in the prior slide. And then last one is easy returns and money back guarantee. So if you look at most products out there in the market right now, money back guarantee, especially one selling online, money back guarantee becomes a huge aspect of it. And the ability to easily return the product is another huge reason for people to be able to buy the product. You can take Amazon, for example. Returns are very easy. Money back is very easy. So just like Amazon, most companies out there are following that model where they're making returns very easy. And you have 60-day, 90, anywhere from 30 to 90-day money back guarantee for the products. people give products, bottom of bottle guarantee products, where if you've even consumed all of the product, you'll still get your money back in 30, 60, 90 days. With that, I'll open the floor up for questions.
And I think we should give Karthik a big round of applause first.
Thanks, Vella. From a customer service perspective, I touched on a few points, but I know you're the master on the customer service side. So
yeah, I know. I mean, obviously this is your presentation, but I'm happy to jump in if there are specific questions on customer service. But I think sure. Karthik, this is yours.
Karthik, I have one question.
Yeah.
This the presentation which you made is more related to B2C market. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I work in a field where which is more B2B.
Yeah.
And when we talk about this B2B market, the product development process itself, we do not have, and this whole idea is related to companies which have resources in place, like people in R&D or people in marketing or people in market surveys or research, market research and all. Whereas somebody as small as me, where everything is like a Lala company, how do we move ahead on that? We may have some brilliant ideas, but we may, finance is not a problem. Finance we can always organize. Right. But then how do we go through the whole process? It is quite elaborate in nature. So if I follow all these steps now, I will drop the product idea only, product development process only. I will just enjoy doing business in what I am doing. That is one question. Secondly, money back guarantee and easy return. In B2B, where the order values are very high, you know, average order size may be around 2 to 3 lakh rupees. We cannot go in for something like easy returns and money back guarantee. But we want to assure the customers that they are dealing with a nice product, a technically driven product, and you will be happy to have it as a part of your system.
Yep.
So what value addition can we bring on the table? That is always a question in my mind, because I always deal in innovative products or innovative systems. So lot of time people have this query कि ये पसंद नहीं आया तो क्या मैं इसको वापस कर सकता हूँ? So we have to say sorry to them.
Right.
So how do we tackle this?
Right. So let me tackle one question at a time. So let me take your first question, right? You talked about how you can relate to aspects of this with your B2B business. Well, this is not a purely B2C business. It starts as B2C, but it also has aspects of B2B. When you go into retail marketing, for example, that's B2B, purely B2B, where you're selling it to a retailer. He's buying the product. He's putting the product on his shelf and he's selling it. Well, he does have the ability to return the product if it doesn't sell, or you get charged, a fee for not being able to sell the product. So those are all things that are built into the contract. But outside of that, the question you asked about market survey and everything else, there are companies, you said, money is not an object. Well, in some cases, money is an object as well. But there are companies who can do the specialized market research for you in your field, taking your product and saying, okay, there are some aspects to it that you need to work on. One is, a tight NDA with them, where there is a non-disclosure agreement that you can that can be held up in court for the most part, because you don't want your product idea, them taking your product idea and selling it to somebody else. So with that in mind, first step is to sign the NDA. Once the NDA is signed, then what you do is you share your product idea with them, and what they can do is they can do the market survey for you to let you know, okay, these are your competitors' products out there in the market. This is what your competition looks like. This is what is currently selling in the market. This is the rate at which it's selling. And this is how you can work on figuring out how to sell your product and how you can bring, more, you can make the product that is currently selling in the market, you make your product better than what is selling out there in the market.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
But my observation during my work career and my business career has been that the field in which we work is very creative and innovative. We invited some market research firms who deal in building materials or construction materials, and they were not able to support us with the type of market research we want to do in the product category itself. So that was the most unfortunate part. They couldn't, because the product being innovative in nature, there are certain times where there is no benchmark against which they can relate. So we were caught in a catch-22 situation.
That does happen, right? So if you are the first to market on a very innovative product, then that market research aspect of it is going to be very vague. It is not going to give you the right information. So what the way you need to do is you need to look at that and interpret it that way as well. So the market research was there, no doubt about it. Was it bad or was it good? It doesn't matter because you got the market research. Your market research tells you that there is no competitor product available for what you're doing. What that also tells you is that, okay, my product is very innovative. There is no competition out there. Based on that, you know what you need to do to market your product. That gives you an idea that I can market this product easily because now I'm innovating the market. Now I'm new to the market, basically. And people are always looking for new aspects that they want to try out. Even if it's building materials, they want to try out new aspects, especially if you have claims against building materials. For example, you have a claim that your material can withstand weather for 10 years without getting degraded. If you come out with an innovative product like that, guess what is going to happen? You're going to, for example, in India, if you say, okay, my building material will stop leaks for 10 years. You put my material on your walls, you'll not have any leaks. Guess what? Something like that, there is no competition for something like that. If there's no competition, then you know that your product is innovative and you'll be able to sell your product more easily to buyers who want to buy your product. So that's one aspect. Your second question, going back to, what was your second question?
It was regarding money back and goods return. So
money back and goods return.
We cannot support those type of approach. But how do we tell the customer that they have the best product currently? It is innovative, but then technically...
Right. You can take money back guarantee and easy return and convert that to a warranty. Right? In your case, it will be a warranty where you say, okay, I guarantee or I warranty my product to make sure that you'll have 10 years without leaks or 5 years without leaks. If there is a leak, then I will fix it at no cost to you. When you do that, that is similar to a money back guarantee in a CPG space. So that's how you turn it around. Basically, you can take that concept and turn it around and make sure that it works for you. I mean, I've worked in similar situations where, in my coatings industry that I worked, there's no money back guarantee. You apply the coating, it's done. I'm not going to take the money back because I applied the coating. But what we do give is we give a warranty for that product. We say that this product is going to last for 5 years without any issues of degrading. Well, how do we know that? Well, I give it in writing that if anything happens to this product in 5 years or within 5 years, I will come and fix it at no charge to you. That's what you do.
But when we go on to the social media marketing, like somebody like Amazon, they want assurance that goods return will be accepted by us. It is mandatory.
Right.
So that's why we are not working in on the e-commerce platform, because we cannot guarantee all those things. We said we will give warranty, but we will not have goods return. We will not accept goods return.
Well, and again, so those are all negotiations that can be done. Even with Amazon, I'm sure that there are products out there that are, for example, we have you buy a coatings product from Amazon. You apply the coating to your wall. There's no money back guarantee. You've already applied the product to your wall, right? So what does the money back guarantee mean? Well, that's where Amazon or any of the other e-commerce retailers will work on warranty aspect of it. If there is a warranty issue, for example, Costco, right? You buy product from Costco and you use half of it and you return half of it. Costco will take it back. at full price if it doesn't work for you, you know. But what does Costco do on the back end? It's not that the product itself is returned back to the vendor. A lot of times what has happened is that that aspect of the percentage return is built in to the cost of the product. So what you do is you need to build that return into the cost of the product so that you can use that, you know, based on research that you've done, based on R&D that you've done, you know that X percentage of product is going to be returned. So that needs to be built into your COGS aspect, cost of goods, so that you know how much to market your product for.
Okay. Thank you, Kartik, for the feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to add, Datta, like on the B2B aspect of it, you know, some of it these are very generic, or you know, there's no real differentiation in the product, right? It's a lot of things, a lot of suppliers are available to sell the same product, so you're essentially competing in a lot of cases just on price or relationships, etc. I think, but what Kartik mentioned about, you know, figuring out what customers want. And you know, in this case, identifying who your customers are, you know, where the purchasing power exists, who are the decision makers. Is it the purchase departments in all these companies in the B2B environment, or are there other areas where you have an opportunity to influence? And then what can you create for them? Like, what is the biggest pain for a purchase manager today in buying cement? I don't know, but you know, can you find that out? Right? Is it that, you know, like the bigger suppliers don't integrate with their procurement system? Can you do that and make it easy for them to buy with one click? You know, so, I mean, those are the kind of things that you can think of. So I was involved in Amazon B2B. So Amazon Business is Amazon's B2B site, and you should check that out, right? I mean, the work that they did, they're not selling anything different than the Staples or the Costco or any big brand distributor here in the US. Right. So the only differentiation is, yeah, it's seamlessly integrated into your procurement system and the company who's selling you the ultimate product. You are essentially the middleman. You know, returns, or to Karthik's point, warranty claims are easy. You know, everything, your console as a purchase manager in a company, you can manage your budget. So there are a lot of things that you can do, and then you can have to figure out what your niche is. Where do you want to play?
Right. And to add to that, right, a lot of companies will be willing to pay a slightly higher price for the service than for the product itself. So that is another key aspect that you want to keep in mind. The customer service aspect of it, the post-sale customer service, the welcome email, the welcome calls, the email drip campaign. These are all, you know, these are ideas that are more on the B2C, but similarly can be applied to B2B as well, where, you know, you send the customer product, you give them a call, you know, a week later or 2 weeks later saying, hey, we shipped you the product. We want to see how the product is doing. What happened with the product? Did you have any issues installing it? Did you have any issues with working with it? Those are all things that make customers happy.
Okay.
So if I may add a little bit more to this discussion.
Sorry,
Shubhra.
Go ahead, Sumit.
I was dealing with a lot of sales vendors very recently. And what I realized is that they were all trying to, and this is actually on the chemical engineering side, they're trying to sell their equipment with a lot of reliability aspect. But the most important thing was to figure out what was the customer pinch point. And none of these guys were actually addressing the customer pinch point. And unless you know what that pinch point is for the customer, if it is the cost factor and you're selling the quality or reliability, customer is still not going to buy that product. So I think marketing is all about understanding customer's pinch point and presenting it in a relevant way so that customer wants to buy your product at the end, right? It's all about that. So, and knowing exactly where, so again, that was just a point that I wanted to add to this discussion.
Very valid point.
Yeah, especially like in commodities, like you said, Sumit, and you know, I think Karthik, you also alluded to it, that you know, building construction material, it's a commodity, right? The only place to go is to the bottom, right? So if you compete on price, there's only one direction it's going. It's always going down, right? So it's a race to the bottom, right? So I think, you know, you have to figure out, you know, especially as a small player in what I'm sure is a pretty large market, you know, how can you know, why would somebody need to buy from you if there are 5 other people who are selling exactly the same thing, maybe even the same brand? So, that's where I think, and I don't know the answer to that, but I think that's what Sumit is alluding to. What does the customer really need? Because they are getting the same product from everybody. But then that is not the need that you're selling to address. I think, Shubhada, you said there was a question for Karthik in this chat. I think we should get to that.
But I have one more thing that I want to finish this discussion on. The other thing is that the warranty aspect and the return aspect that Karthik mentioned, that was all about not on cost of goods sold, but it actually gets into the pricing aspect. There's a difference on the finance aspect.
Right.
Cost of goods sold is a separate component. And
Right. I meant to say pricing. You're right.
Exactly. So, sorry, go ahead. Shubhada, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. So we have a question, and it says, what is the usual retention rate or range from first sale to recurring customers who buy up to $300 or $400?
So first sale to recurring customers. So if your first average order value is say $300 to $400, right? Recurring customers LTVs can go up to $1,000. But one thing you also have to remember is that when your product cost is going to run into the $300, $400 range for initial order value, you're going to be paying a lot higher in terms of customer acquisition. So typical ROAs or return on acquisitions ranges somewhere between the 150 to 200%. So if you have, say, a $300 average order value, you're going to be paying close to about 150 in terms of customer acquisition. And if it goes to 400, you're going to be paying closer to $200. So that is all determined by, by what your selling price is, which market you're selling, but average, that is what you're going to be looking at. Based on our estimates, again, it all depends on the product it is, right? For example, if you take baby formula, for example, we've done our research on this. If you take baby formula, for example, your initial average order value is going to be only about $100. But guess what? Your lifetime value for something like that ranges somewhere between the $1,500 to $2,000. Why is that? Well, baby formula is something that once people give their babies, and if the babies like it, and they're not going to change the formula. You're going to keep the same formula for the year or the 6 months that the baby is going to take that formula. So it all depends on product. It all depends on a lot of aspects. But ideally, what we've seen is that if the customer likes the product, if it helps them with their health or any of the issues that they're having, then they will continue to buy the product as long as they can afford to buy it.
And on a slightly lighter note, I think, cost of customer acquisition is also dependent on the mood that Google and Apple are in usually, especially on the e-commerce side. So
yes, to a large extent, yes.
Especially for smaller players, the cost of acquisition of customers most startups today fail because they just cannot afford the cost of customer acquisition in an e-commerce world.
Right. So one thing to keep in mind is that there are third-party players out there as well who are what you call as trying to think of the name of what they're called. So they're called affiliators. So what these guys do is that, affiliates. So what these guys do is that they have big accounts with Google and Facebook and stuff. And what they will do is they will take your product on as one of the accounts under their umbrella and help you sell their product essentially. So with that in mind, you can use affiliates, to sell your products. That way you can build up your marketing and your customer base. Once you get to a point where you can do this internally, then you switch to the internal account. This is where a lot of failures happen, where they're not able to get the right resources in place to be able to do this. So that's what I've seen essentially.
We have another question. So according to you, in case of cosmetic industry, which are those key things that worked for the success of Haley Cosmetics in America? Do they follow the common procedure for their products, for the product marketing compared to other cosmetic companies, or what is it? So this is Rahul Wagh asking this question.
Sure. Hey, Rahul, I have not studied how Kaylee has done their aspect of the branding and of their product launch, but I am pretty sure that they follow most of the steps here, essentially, because this is a pretty standard formula. Even if you deviate from it, you're going to be deviating a few steps here and there, but for the most part, you're going to be following this aspect of it. Primarily because of the regulatory involved in it as well. Because to be able to market a product, you also need to be able to show on the back end that you've done the development right, you've done your due diligence. So these are all things that if, for example, if Kaylee has a product that's out there, and if a customer has issues with that product, he can report to the consumer group, he can report to Better Business Bureau. So you need to be able to defend those claims. How do you defend those claims? Well, you need to show research, you need to show backing to show that, okay, I did these things. These are all the things I've done. And this is how I can show that my product does not do that. And that, whatever issues the customer was having was due to something else that affected it more than my product. Does that answer your question, Rahul?
Oh, yes, it does. Thank you. I do have a question actually. So some of the dietary supplements, or let's say the products that need FDA approval, it takes years sometimes to get approved.
So this is not an FDA approved product, it's an FDA regulated industry. So the supplements and cosmetics fall under a slightly lower grade than your FDA approval process. So if you go to medical devices or drugs, then you need to go into the FDA approval process. But this falls under the FDA regulation. So it's an FDA regulated industry, but it's not an FDA approved industry. From that perspective, you don't need to get a FDA approval to launch your products. But if the consumer, if there are complaints that they see, then the FDA can come and walk into your door and say, I need to see all the documentation related to your product. And if you don't have the right documentation in place, they can issue something called as a warning letter, which is a 483, and you have about 30 days to 60 days to resolve that. And if you're not able to resolve that in that period, they can shut you down.
Okay. So so since it is FDA regulated, it must be taking definitely less than what the FDA approved products would take for their official launch. So what
Correct.
is the time? Yeah. So what is the time?
So timeline wise, it all depends on company to company. We have done launches in as short as 5 months. That is the shortest time that we have taken to launch a product, is 5 months.
Okay. Okay.
Karthik, this is Mayur here. There are, competition with the network marketing companies like MV and all those things.
Yeah. Network marketing companies, you're always going to have competition, right? So this is where, you need to get your product niche. That's where your product niche makes a big difference. Your claims make a big difference, basically. Your product claims are going to be right.
So you mean to say that your business model is eating away in their market share year on year?
Definitely. Definitely. Okay. It's not just ours. There are a lot of companies out there. I at least know of 3 or 4 different companies that are coming up on a day-to-day basis that, they're going to come and start eating market share every day. But again, this is, it tosses back and forth. And some of these companies cannot survive past a year, 2 years phase, and they shut down. And then the market share goes back to what it was before. So that's typical of this industry.
Okay, thank you.
Can I take the next question?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is from Jitendra Shinde. When doing contracting manufacturing, how confidentiality of secret formula is ensured? Does NDA take care of it?
Not with a contract manufacturer. With a contract manufacturer, what you need to do is you need to do a couple of additional things. You need to get into a contract manufacturer agreement, which is done separately in addition to the NDA. The NDA definitely needs to be done, but in addition to that, what you do is you do something called as a contract manufacturer agreement, where it goes a little bit more into detail regarding disclosure of the formula and everything else. So this is something that typically covers it in the industry. What also happens, you also have to understand, is that the contract manufacturers themselves, they want to make sure that they are not the ones who are leaking the formula as well, because it's their reputation at stake. If somebody finds out that they're leaking formulas out, nobody will want to do business with them as well. So it's a double-edged sword from that perspective.
And that's very common, as, just to add on to that question, Jitendra, this is the manufacturing industry. I don't work in manufacturing, but I run customer service, and we outsource a lot of our work. And, some of the partners that we work with also have my competitors as their clients. And we both have our needs to maintain confidentiality and, nothing is rocket science in customer service, but we do have certain things that we don't want them to know, because customer service, like Karthik was mentioning, gets involved in product design phases, as example. So if new features are being launched at Spotify or Apple, and one vendor has got both Apple and Spotify customer service within their building, it's in our interest to make sure, and their interest to make sure, that things are protected. So we have multiple options. I'm sure, Karthik, in manufacturing also, you have different areas in the building that only certain companies' work happens. Nobody else is allowed there. So, you can be an employee of the company, but if you're not a member of the Spotify account, you can't even show up in that part of the building, etc. There are many things that we can do, and everything is already contractually mandated. You have audits, things like that.
So absolutely. And like Rajiv said, right, one of the things is that, all of these contract manufacturers also fall under the FDA regulations. So they actually have to get themselves registered with the FDA and maintain that standard. And one of the aspects of that is also confidentiality. So if somebody else's product is running on the line, and if I show up at the facility, they won't even let me into the facility because, I might be able to see their product running and everything else. So these are all things that they also have to maintain from their perspective.
So Karthik, one more thing that I would like to add, an example of Godrej company in India. I think one of the employees who was actually kind of partner there, he was not asked to sign a non-competitive clause. So basically he took away the information from the company, and there was nothing stopping him from actually setting up his own business. So ideally, if you're going with a contract manufacturing, then the non-competitive clause becomes very critical to ensure. And I think in that sense, Amazon itself has been pretty notorious, where they have taken the ideas from other customers and they've started building their own supply chain and own product lines. So I would say really that I think, but other than that, I think where it works with contract manufacturing is not necessarily NDA, but force majeure, where you ensure other clauses so that they are not just directly competing with you and not selling your information to others. More so.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. So
we have actually a couple of questions in the chat box. So,
sure.
Okay, so this is from Nikhil. He asks, can Karthik describe his personal journey on how he went into supply chain from chemical engineering? Most of the recent graduates from chemical engineering target to work in technical field, for example, R&D, process engineering, or manufacturing. Just trying to understand the growth opportunities for recent graduates from Chemi. Is it mandatory to look into business side rather than only technical at some point for product development? This was also actually one of my questions.
Sure. So, you have to follow where your heart leads you more than anything else, right? This is the key. The key factor is that, I was interested in supply chain right from the beginning. The moment I graduated, the moment I started work, I was always interested in supply chain. And that is primarily how I got into supply chain. Because again, I started as a process engineer, that's what most people start in when you finish their chemical engineering degree. Some people go into IT and everything else. That's a different story. But as a pure chemical engineer, you'll start as a process engineer or as a scientist in a lab or any of those things. Just like you said, you'll be doing technical jobs. Well, as a part of the technical job, and if you show interest in other areas in the company, companies will give you the opportunity to be able to diversify into those areas. That's what happened with me. So in my first job as a process engineer, I was involved in the, I liked how the manufacturing worked. I liked how things were done on the manufacturing side. But at the same time, I was involved, also wanted to understand how inventory was being done, how inventory was brought in, what was the purchasing aspect, what was the sourcing aspect. So I did that on my own time, in addition to what I was doing as a process engineer. So when you put your own time into it and start learning those things, right, companies will give you the opportunity to do it. So my company, the first company I worked for, they said, well, you're interested in this stuff. Would you like to try it out for a few months and see how you like doing that? I'm like, that would be great. So they gave me the opportunity to try out being in a supply chain role. And once I started doing that, I liked it so much, and they liked it because I was coming up with ideas. I was doing really good in that. They said, we would like to keep you in this role and grow you in this role. And that is how eventually I got into supply chain, basically.
Thank you. And we actually have one more question. It is from Bharat again. How many products actually make it through the funnel from concept to market?
Very good question, actually. Very, very good question. I would say, in our industry, when I look at market to funnel, the percentage of products is about 5 to 10%, somewhere between 5 and 10%. Rest of the products don't make it all the way to the funnel. And this is primarily because, down the stage, it could happen at any stage of the process where you would say that this product is not worthwhile for us to proceed ahead. It could happen at the initiation phase. It could happen at the Cogs phase, where you're looking at the cost of goods. It could happen at the legal phase, where legal could look at it and saying, all these claims you're making, you'll not be able to make these claims because you don't have enough product substantiation for it. So if you're not able to find additional product substantiation for it, and if marketing does not have an alternate story, you will kill that, basically, because there's no point in pursuing it further if there is no marketing, if there's no way to market the product the way you want to market it.
Hey, Kartik, Bharat, one more question. How reliable are these market surveys? With the possibility of getting misled by surveys, Coke, which failed big time.
Right. So you have to do your due diligence with any market survey. It's not a bulletproof thing that your market survey will always be successful, right? So one thing to remember in mind is that you always have to take that market survey with a grain of salt. But if you do your market survey internally, right, with your own team, with your R&D folks, with your marketing folks driving that R&D, you can be assured that the data that is coming to you at least has been vetted to some extent. If you outsource it to a third party, you have to look at it with a grain of salt and say, okay, is this data accurate? And you can just do simple cross checks with that data. You have Nielsen's, you have a lot of databases out there that you can get access to, and you can do a quick customary check against those databases to see, I can look at this database and it matches what this market survey shows, especially at some key points in the market survey.
Bharat, on that, again, depends on how big the company is, how much amount they want to spend on the market survey. If you go to companies like Deloitte, they will also do the market survey for you. But they are going to be a lot more expensive than smaller companies. And I get calls many times in different sectors to give feedback about the industry. And sometimes I don't even know what they are asking for, but they want feedback from me. Though I would say those are unreliable market survey data at that point, because I'm giving them my opinion, but that doesn't necessarily mean the market is going in that direction. So there are other smaller companies, but again, it all depends on how much money the companies are spending for marketing. But very much, I've seen Deloitte reports, which are very thorough, very detailed, and they even talk to the intra-government panels to get the information.
So you have a lot of marketing companies. You have Deloitte, you have KPMG, You can go to McKinsey if you want. If you want Maybach, Mercedes Maybach, then you go to you go to the top of the line basically. So their market surveys are going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars basically.
Hello. Yeah, Karthik. Hi, this is Vilas here.
Hey, Vilas.
How are you?
Good.
Yeah, it was a fantastic session. Well, I just wanted to ask, now that we are in the, what you call, 2020, and nowadays social media marketing, this is what is the in thing. So what do you think is the next wave for the marketers? Means, where is this going? In which direction do you see the marketing going?
It's very difficult to predict, but I'm going to give you my opinion on it. So don't hold me to it. But
yeah, sure.
where I see this going is more on the influencer marketing side than anything else. You have your social media. This is social media, right? Where you just market directly on social media. Well, beyond that is social media influencer marketing, where you have these YouTube influencers, these Facebook influencers, who have a huge following as it is to begin with. So what they do is they take your product and they can sell the product online to their existing customer base. When they do that, you can get returns 2x, 3x times very easily.
Yes, you mean the Amitabh Bachchans and the Shah Rukh Khans will be outdated in some time.
Yes, they will, unless they join the social media wagon, and which I think a lot of them are already doing.
Yeah, sure. Any good books which you suggest? I know, means I studied marketing 20 years back. I was junior to fellow, but then marketing is such a subject where you think you know it everything, but there is something always happening. So
there are a lot of books I can recommend on marketing. If you look at the background, you'll see that I have quite a few of the marketing books. What I'll do is go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I think you should share some. That's what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and Vilas, I've never worked in chemical engineering or in marketing for a day of my life. Although that's what I studied. But what I would say is the biggest difference, and which is where a lot of folks who studied marketing when we were doing our MBA, or maybe a little later, to Karthik's point, I think the evolution into social media and influencer marketing, I think the use of data in marketing, I think, has changed the way marketing happens today. It's a lot more. There was a lot of gut feel, and a lot of the positioning and experience played a big part. Whereas now you can actually target. You know what Vilas was looking at yesterday, and deduce what he might need, and what products or ads will give me the biggest bang for the buck. So you are able to do and analyze data and target ads at that level of detail and specificity, and I think that is what is changing. So if you want to be successful in marketing on the outside as a consultant or as a marketing professional, or within a company trying to make marketing successful for you, I think the faster you embrace the digitization and the data behind marketing and figure out how to make that useful for you and how to make it useful for your product, I think it will be better.
Yeah, sure. I see a lot of data scientists being sought after nowadays, because I think data is the king. Previously,
everything is driven by data.
Customer is the king.
Yeah,
if you look at all the open marketing roles today, if you look at all the open marketing roles today, I will argue that over 50% of them are on marketing analytics, or what different companies call it differently, but everybody needs digital marketers or people who have experience using data for marketing.
Yeah,
true.
Would we say, in fact, that the data scientists should become pretty outdated pretty soon too, because artificial intelligence would automatically gather the data and start putting out the relevant ads to customers, right? That is
I mean, you need human beings behind those models. So
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think in our lifetimes machines will be thinking independently. I'm hoping that, I'm sure there is there's work that can happen, but
this was
I think like like I was managing at Amazon. I spent a lot of time in customer service, but I was also running operations for Alexa data services, which, teaches Alexa what it knows, right? So it's not the models, but it's the human beings that, that teach Alexa how to speak and what to speak and how to understand. And, what does a human being mean when he says certain things in English or Marathi or Hindi, and, and then Alexa learns. So you still need that, it's but yeah, data scientists in maybe what you used to be data scientists many years ago, are probably different today. And though they also need to evolve. Yes.
Yeah, because again, the difference is what data analyst analyzes the data, and one is the artificial intelligence, which is a separate component, which is actually taking the data and making meaningful value out of it, right?
Yeah, I think I think the big difference for me is, I think, and Karthik has now, I think, seen the entire experience. Right? He's worked in the traditional supply chain, manufacturing, traditional way of selling business model to, now e-commerce and, what is happening. I mean, there was a time when we were in engineering, or, like early 2000s also maybe, where data scientists used to be doing some really like crazy shit, right? Like, they are in DRDO or, designing, the next algorithm for the next rocket that is launching. But today, the Amazon pricing engine is just managed by data scientists, right? I mean, how to price a product that, that is sold by literally everybody, but still make sure that your product is the one that sells the maximum that is listed on your website, and make sure that the price is accurate, is a ridiculous amount of science, right? And but we didn't know that, that was where, if somebody had told me that data scientists are going to do pricing engine work in, in 10 years,
yes, yeah,
you would have all laughed, right? And I think that's probably what I'm seeing on the marketing side also. I think the more you understand how to use Facebook and Google and the associate network, and how intelligently you can use, how much of a direct relationship you have with your customer is also going to determine how successful you are as a marketer.
Yeah, I mean, very true, right? Data scientists, like you said, were part of huge organizations before, government organizations, even private organizations, but they're part of huge organizations. Today, every organization has data scientists in their company. They have to, because these data scientists drive a lot of information. And there's a lot of information out there that needs to be taken, analyzed, processed, and deciphered. So it takes time, and it's a specialized skill. Now more and more people are getting involved in that process. So you're going to find data scientists to be readily available and cheap going forward. But to what extent, we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I was reading this article yesterday, and it's on LinkedIn, or it's on, I think Amazon has a blog that is available for external people outside of Amazon as well. And like, a lot of you are in India, so if you are in Baroda and look for saris, you will see saris that are typically bought by people in that geography. Whereas if you go and if you're shopping from Chennai, the saris that you see for the same search will be different. And so that is at the very highest level. Then it's up to Sumit and Shubhada's tastes also, right? I mean, there is that level of sophistication involved and specificity, and all that is data science. And they are PhDs doing it, right? So there are like some of the people I was interviewing, and I had 2 PhDs, and we were hiring them to do this, right? Like with sari to surface, it's kind of ridiculous, but if you think of it, but it's what makes it work, because that's what customers are used to. I mean, you can think it's creepy, but
like Rajiv said, they are constantly monitoring your Facebook feed, your Google sites that you visit. They know your tastes. They know what you're looking for, and you can see it. You go visit a website for a particular product. Next day, that product shows up in your Facebook feed with marketing, targeted marketing towards you. You'll be like, how did they know? Forget about that. You talk about a product, with your family members, and next day that product shows up in your feed, either in Google ads or in Amazon ads, or even in your Facebook feed. This is something that, that data is being collected on a day-to-day basis. Your phones, even if you turn them off, they're collecting data. I mean, they actually did a study where somebody turned their phone off completely. They flew from here to, they stopped at Dubai and landed in India. And then they came back. They never turned their phone back on. They came back to the US after a month or so. And when they turned their phone back on, they wanted to see how much data is being sent out. And they figured out that all the data related to their travel, as to where they traveled, where they stopped, how long they stopped for, all that was sent back, basically. They did this analysis to figure out whether the phones do capture data when your phone is completely powered off. Yes, it does, unfortunately.
Okay. So Shubhada, I don't know if you have any more questions here, but it has been. Go ahead, Shubhada.
Yeah. No, I think we covered all the questions. It's just that I don't want to stop this webinar. This is so, this was so interesting. And I was like listening keenly to all the comments and questions. So I don't feel like stopping it, but unfortunately we are past our time. So I have to. So with everyone's consent, if we don't have any questions, I request Santosh sir to propose vote of thanks.
So, Shubhada, by the way, Santosh is not here, but I'll take this opportunity to thank Kartik. I think it has been a very informative session, like Shubhada mentioned, and it's always great to hear Kartik, and equally important to see everybody's participation on this alumni session. I'm joyed to see, thrilled to see all the alumni that haven't met them in a long time, and like Adosh, Vilas Kuti, Rajiv, yourself. It's good to see. I think we're literally talking in after 20, 21 years, but it's great to have everybody here. And again, DBATU alumni is still in a very early stages, so we are looking for suggestions and new ideas. If you have any topics that you want to share and discuss with us and with the rest of us, I think the people are eager. They want to be on this board and learn something new. So please share your ideas, and we would like to grow accordingly. And also, if you have any questions, please send us an email. I don't know I have the exact email, but I think Shubhada or Santosh or even Avnish Midha might be the point of contact. So again, great to see everyone else, and hopefully we'll meet soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for organizing, everybody. It was great to meet you.
Yeah, thanks. It was a great session. Thank you for giving me the time to present.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kartik. It's a pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
The feedback link is in
Thank you,
the
Kartik.
chat box.
Bye, everybody. Bye,
Submit your
hello.
feedback
Thank
there.
you.
Yeah.